All right, good evening, everybody. It's 7:30, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you for joining us tonight for the 2022 Powerlifting Pre-Competition webinar for the culminating event occurring at Mount St. Mary's on October 22nd. This is a little bit earlier than we typically do these, but we have found to be a little more beneficial and allow you more time to distribute this out to your families, athletes, anybody attending the event. Having everybody on the same boat, I guess, is very beneficial. So tonight on the call, it's myself, the sport director for powerlifting, Steve Bennett, who's also here, the senior director of competition. Derek Willis may be joining us later. I don't believe so, though. He's our venue director, phenomenal asset to the success of powerlifting. Happy to have him back for his second year as the venue director. And I think Mike Sarnowski is listening in also while working on some other projects. He is our VP of Sports. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. It will be posted on the coach's resource page, both the slide deck and the recording tomorrow afternoon. So no need to scramble and write stuff down unless you would like to. This will be distributed and posted. As we go through here, if you want to place your questions in chat, please feel free to do so. You can use the raise your hand button. That's my favorite during meetings. That'll flag me down and we can get your question addressed. Going into the agenda here, we'll talk about the overall event information, talk about entries briefly, go into the schedule, do a little review of the venue, which has been slightly changed since last year with a piece or two. Rule updates and reminders that we will go over. I assume that's what you've been following throughout the season. It was also addressed in the preseason webinar, but having a few reminders never hurts. We'll go into little miscellaneous topics at the end. And then leave plenty of time for questions and answers. This should not take the full hour, I don't believe. But again, please feel free to jump in anytime with your questions. And I will not leave this meeting until all your questions are asked and answered or noted down for a follow-up. In front of you now, you see the powerlifting schedule. Delegation check-in will open at 7:30 a.m. Weigh-ins will start at 8 a.m. Powerlifting has a lot of moving pieces in the morning, as you all know. The first piece is to have everybody arrive on time. So please make sure you have jotted down to arrive at 8:15 a.m. Again, it'll open up at 8. We would like everybody there by 8:15 a.m. You must be there by 8:45. We will be closing the weigh-ins at 9 a.m. I know that sometimes things happen and there's an athlete or two that's late. That will put the whole day off. Everybody has to be weighed in before opening ceremonies begins, or they will not be competing for that day. Opening ceremonies will be happening in the Knott Arena, the same venue or the same area as the powerlifting venue. Other sports will be also joining us for that opening ceremony this year. The expected time is 9 to 9:45 a.m. for that. We will have a coaches meeting led by Derek immediately after that. He will lead that coaches training as my team and I get everybody into place and divisioned for the day. We will allow a brief warm-up time per usual, and we do plan to begin at 10:15 a.m. sharp. Yes.
One thing I'll reiterate to Ryan's point about arriving on time. You guys know as well as I do as coaches or families or whatever, when you tell someone get there at 8:45, just to clarify, just make sure that you tell them that doesn't mean pulling into the parking lot at 8:45. That means that's the absolute latest that they can get in the line for the weigh-in. So that's why we're kind of given that 8:15 time frame. Because again, as you guys know, and Ryan will address it later, that puts the whole day in jeopardy. If we're behind from the get-go, it prolongs the day. So I just really wanted to stress that 8:15 is the target. Obviously, if you can get there earlier, great, as we anticipate opening it up at 8 a.m. But if they're not basically in line by 8:45, we will close it at 9. Now, as Ryan said, we know things happen. If there is an emergency situation, traffic jams, a car wreck or a car accident, anything like that, just let us know and we'll see what we can do to work with you.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces that we've implemented to help getting the day started a little bit earlier. It was better last year. We're still not where we want to be. But again, this is a big piece on starting the day off right. Moving to the delegation registration, there will be a packet for each head coach to pick up for the area programs. That will be located just inside the Knott Arena, kind of located near where awards will be or where it was last year. The location for that is not to interfere with anything going on with opening ceremonies, keep you from walking an extra 20, 30 yards or whatever up front. So that will be visible. Signage will direct you to there, but that is where the location will be for your packet pickup. At that time, please report any scratches from your delegation. If you're aware of any the night before, please send those to me also. Any time in advance is better than just day of. That is extremely helpful. Yeah, so please do so.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, that check-in area is going to be kind of where people came in last year when we had all the separations. It's in that downstairs hallway, the main hallway, right really close to the hallways that break off where you go down to the weigh-in area. So it'll be right there in that central hallway.
All right, the weigh-in cards in the first attempt. Submission of cards. Coaches will receive the cards from the weigh-in and submit the cards directly to the management personnel with the first attempt and verify the weights. So our team will have those cards in the respective locker rooms where your athletes will be weighed in. Please have an assistant coach or you as the head coach there, somebody with them to make sure that they are doing everything correctly, don't need any assistance. If they would like to remove any clothing to drop in weight, if they're that close, please just make sure one of your coaches is there. Have that athlete inform the GMT member about their name, and they will then be weighed in. From there, you as a coach will collect that card. If there's a big lull or there's no athletes coming up for you, please feel free to drop those by the scorers table so we can start to get that information inputted. But if you would like to wait until your athletes have completed it with the time that we have allotted, as long as those are in by opening ceremonies, that will work from us. The input's not extremely complex. So again, when you get those cards,
Are we asking questions as we go, or do you want to wait till the
go
end?
ahead. Let me finish
Do
this
you,
slide.
do you
real
want
quick
us to
here.
send in weights ahead of time as a, like,
So
just to be a little bit ahead of it, and then obviously weigh-ins that morning, but
That's a great question. So our approach with this may change in the future. What I have found to be helpful is to have the opening lifts in advance. I know that those can change.
opening lifts, yeah, but I'm talking about body weight. You want body weight in advance?
We will still be doing weigh-ins that morning. It's not even helpful for me to do a mock divisioning because if a few things are off,
Okay.
it's more
No, that's cool.
complicated just to go that route. No, that's a great question.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Again, it's a responsibility of the coach to submit the cards. This is to assist with us being delayed and again, trying to stay on track. Once that morning starts, we're on a roll. It's just a little bumpy sometimes getting to that point. So bear with us. We'll bear with you and we'll work together as a team to get rolling. Some general information: lunches will be delivered to each sport venue between 11 a.m. and 12:30. Typically, the athletes eat between the bench and the deadlift. Your venue director will address the appropriate time for the delivery. There will be an announcement that's made by Joel Pennenberg, and your athletes can eat at that time. Please make sure that you as a coach pick up lunches for everybody within your delegation to kind of ease the process for all parties involved, not kind of jumping back and forth and just grabbing a few lunches there. Also with lunch, any lunch forms, in case you have not submitted them yet, please make sure that they are in by tomorrow afternoon, which is the deadline. When you pick up that lunch, just confirm that everything on that slip is what matches within your box, which it should. But if there's any discrepancies, just let one of our team members know. For your families and spectators, there will not be meals provided for them or concessions available at the event. Please include this in your email or phone calls, however you communicate with outside members of your delegation, just so they can bring their own food. It is typically a 7:30 to 4 p.m.-ish day. So please make sure that they bring their own food. There's not a ton around the mount location to eat. Spending a good amount of time up there, it can be a little frustrating. So please make sure they're aware of that in advance.
Yeah, the one thing I'd add on to that is, as far as bringing in like any coolers and stuff like that, you know, there'll probably be an inspection, take that out. But I would encourage families to, depending on where they're parking, hey, just leave your meals in your car if you can. In between the lifts, that's when they can go out and grab their meal or whatever suits them for the day. Because one of the things we have found is, I know we all try to do our very best, but we want to be respectful of the mount and where the spectators sit, whether in the bleachers or down on the floor, whatever. There has been some messes left. We've cleaned them up. But again, just reiterate to your folks, your other coaches, athletes, whatever, to make sure, especially if they're sitting down on the gym floor, as always, clean up your messes, but particularly this year, they, I'm going to maybe get this wrong, so I won't specify, but the Mount has joined a new conference. They have just, as of a week or two ago, just refinished the floor, brand new paint, brand new everything. So we really want to make sure that we don't have anything that could possibly damage the floor there. And again, like I said, just always clean up after ourselves. Back to you, Ray.
Speaking of cleaning up, which is not included in any of your slides, in that warm-up area, please make sure everything's racked and the weights are put back the same way that you found them, just so the next person coming up doesn't continue to spiral down that mess over there. We do try to keep it clean and have somebody over there checking on it here and there. But you as a coach, please just keep an eye on that and make sure everything's in order.
My experience there, Ryan, is the coaches all work really hard together for good warm-ups for everybody. So it usually works out well.
Perfect. Appreciate it, Jim. You guys as a whole are awesome. I enjoy working with you. All right, go into our next slide here. Codes of conduct, we just include it. Friendly reminder, won't stay on it long. Please respect everybody, ensuring positive experience for everyone involved. We're also around a ton of Mount athletes that will be volunteering with us. It may be their first time interacting with anybody within Special Olympics. So we want to make a good impact on them as we would anywhere else. Act professionally, no excessive yelling. Maybe excessive cheering is fine if that's yelling. Respect for the officials, whether you agree or disagree, there are ways to go about that, as we'll talk on later on. No profanity, no alcohol or tobacco of any sort. Quality service, health and safety of all athletes and unified partners. We are there for the athletes to provide them a competitive experience, and any of these could hinder that. Opening ceremony. The opening ceremony will be conducted from 9 a.m. till 9:45, like discussed, in the Knott Arena. Lucky for everybody here, we get to stay in the same location and don't have to frantically head to our venues before starting the day. Following the conclusion of the opening ceremonies, please proceed to the stage for the coaches meeting. Again, Derek will be leading that. It may be to the side of the stage, kind of near that warm-up area. You all know Derek. You'll be able to find him. Any available assistant coaches are encouraged to attend. I know that kind of getting your athletes in place or helping them to warm up so that same time can get it a little busy. Just do the best you can. Derek will keep it short and precise, as he likes to do. And then we'll get the day started shortly after.
And as a reminder, if there's anybody new for powerlifting, basically what happens is we do have the opening ceremony conducted on the powerlifting stage. Immediately after the opening ceremony has concluded, we start dismissing the different sports to go to their venues, whether it's tennis, long distance running, flag football, whatever. You guys as powerlifters obviously stay in the gym, but just be a little patient. It may take a few minutes to get everybody out of the gym and dismissed, so that we have so we can conduct the coaches meeting without a lot of background noise and interruption. So just be prepared. We'll make an announcement. Hey, the powerlifting coaches meeting is now starting. So just kind of hang out in there and be ready for it.
Thanks, Steve. Powerlifting entries, as you can see here, we have 45 athletes entered in each of these, which is an increase from last year. Typically there are scratches, as there are at any event, Special Olympics or not. But here's just gives you a general idea of what we're looking at for the day. We're looking to get back to our pre-pandemic numbers as soon as we can, slowly getting there. But again, an increase from last year, which we are headed in the right direction. Here you see the powerlifting venue. We did talk earlier about a change or two related to this. In those blue boxes in the middle, you will see it says no spectators. That is only the case for opening ceremonies. We encourage everybody, since we need that space for all the athletes and partners and coaches and everybody competing at the different venues throughout that day, please make sure that, as we will note, the spectators are in the bleachers for that time. As we get started to start the powerlifting event and everybody's exited after opening, those spectators are more than welcome to proceed down onto the floor and sit in those chairs. Which does mean that we will be keeping the platforms not tilted to the side as we did last year, which did work well for the spectators, but everything will be facing straight forward for the spectators there. They are more than welcome to still sit in those bleachers if they would choose to do so. Depending on kind of where you park and you walk in that top, it may be easier for some, but it will be noted where delegations will be seating, and any spectators that would like to go down there are more than welcome. As you will also see on here, awards will be continued and kept within that same knot arena, not passing through that hallway and going to that other extra basketball court area, I guess you could call it. They will be kept in the same area. We found there was no issues with being able to hear both awards and having that stage up there and operating clearly at the same time.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add on that is we will tilt the awards platform kind of towards the bleachers a little bit. If those of you who were there last year remember that, to project the noise up into the bleachers to continue not interfering with the competition announcements. But for that section, we do, spectators can be in the lower bleachers, which is fine, but not directly in front of the podium. We'll kind of have some rope and stanchion hopefully there to block that off. But they will be allowed in the lower bleachers to take pictures and all that kind of stuff. So no restrictions, like we said earlier, with the separation and distancing and all that kind of stuff.
Nope, we're continuing to follow the state and local restrictions, and currently at this time, there's none that impede the event whatsoever. Moving on to awards, as we discussed, on the main level near the back of the arena, they will be conducted on a rolling basis. So after the first flight finishes for your bench press athletes, please have them head straight to awards. There'll be a bunch of chairs over there for athletes to kind of wait. Hopefully there is enough where we can kind of stage in one area and have the athletes that are done wait also. So our team can kind of just move them up a little bit. But again, after they're done, please make sure that they head straight there. And let's keep those rolling throughout the day. Last year, it went very smoothly. We hope to continue that. Once the deadlift divisions are complete, athletes can return to the awards area for their awards in the deadlift and the double combination event. Awards can be a tricky process, but when done correctly, it has a great impact on the day. Is there any questions on awards before we move on? Okay. So here are the slides that we will read through briefly. Just as reminders, lifting suit consists of a one-piece, full-length lifting suit of one ply stretch material without any patches or padding. If for some reason you still do not have uniforms for your athletes, I know there was one county that was looking to order some. Derek's had some great suggestions where you can get your county logo. So if you have any questions about that, please contact myself or Derek directly. I'm more than happy to provide you with a few different options there. Undershirt is mandatory for all competitors during the performance in both events. Socks and shoes, long socks. That is because, well, to keep it PG, we don't want them to scrape up their knees. But they must be worn for the deadlift. Sport type shoes, trainers, powerlifting, or weightlifting boots only must be worn, mainly for the athlete's safety. Uniforms on belts. A belt may be of leather, vinyl, or nylon, and may be worn on the outside of the suit. There are dimensions to those that need to be abided by, which are listed in the rules. Wraps A maximum width of 8 centimeters and a maximum length of 1 meter may be worn. Knee wraps are also allowed. They just cannot be more than 2 meters in length and 8 centimeters in width. We do have Steve Wood, who's a certified official there, who's phenomenal. Really, really happy to have him back, assisting with both our equipment, but also in the head official role. He will be making any calls on that. If you have any questions about uniforms or whatever, please ask him before the event starts to avoid any disqualification, or Derek also at arrival.
But Ryan, going into this, assume no Velcro secured belts, right? We've had years in the past where we allowed it, but
That is not,
IPF doesn't usually allow it, so.
I believe I specifically talked to Derek about that, and I can almost guarantee the answer is no. I can follow up unless you be given a specific answer, though.
Thanks.
Chalk will be provided. We have plenty of it. Please just keep an eye on it. Make sure that your athletes aren't making a mess. But encourage them to use so if they do need it. For the bench press, the standard bar is 20 kilograms. We do have a light bar also, which I think we're going to have 2 athletes be using this year, which is 15 kilograms. The lifter must assume the following position on the bench as follows. The head and the trunk, including the buttocks, must be in contact with the surface on the bench. We do have officials that if they see daylight, they should be disqualifying your athletes. If it slightly lifts up and daylight is not seen, they should be fine in case if it accidentally happens. But if there is daylight, that is a reason for a DQ. The feet must be on the floor or the plates. We also have these little wooden blocks that if your athletes can't touch the floor, we can use those to provide that extra. Give me 1 second. You still seeing the screen?
Yeah, you're good, Rob.
All right. Thank you. Hope you didn't read all the emails that quickly. So yeah, if your athlete does need those little blocks, knowing that in advance, if you would like to tell us, is helpful, just so we can have that in our spreadsheet. But at the last minute case, please make sure that you remind us of that when you're turning in your lifting cards, or maybe write a little note on that. That would be very beneficial, so we're not scrambling on the platform there. After removing the bar from the racks or receiving it from the spotters or loaders, the lifter shall wait with the elbows locked for the chief referee signal, which will be Steve Wood.
And one thing there, Rye, going, if you want to, stay on that one for a second. The standard operation and the standard rules in powerlifting and Special Olympics is the 20 kilogram bar, and the 15 kilogram bar has been an exception adopted by Special Olympics International. However, within Maryland, we have also made a local rule update and change for Maryland only, as the 15-pound bar is allowed. I think there's only 2 or 3 athletes who are in that category, but want to make specific note of that. And then again, like if you go to any other competitions for another state or USA Games or World Games, the 15-pound bar is not permitted. But we have made an adjustment here in Special Olympics Maryland that the 15-pound bar will be utilized in certain circumstances.
So by the way, Steve, one of my points of pride this year is that Lori Claxon on her third lift is going to get a 20 kilogram bench press.
Awesome.
She is so close. And you know, she was the driver for the 15 kilogram bar.
Yeah.
At USA Games some years ago in 2014, but she's made some progress over the last couple of years, and 2 milkshakes a day, getting her up there in body weight.
Very good. Hey, if she's able to do that successfully, make sure you send us a follow-up note.
I will.
We have staff meetings and always have mission moments, and that would definitely be a mission moment. So appreciate that.
She got 42 pounds of practice last week. So I think we get that last 3 pounds on there, get that 20 kilogram. I think she's there.
All right. Way to go, coach.
All right.
With the crowd and everybody else, she'll get there. She might go to sleep right afterwards, though, after the adrenaline crash. All right. Bench press continued. Please just make sure to summarize this, that your athlete's listening to the signals of the coach, of the official that is there. You as the coach have been enforcing that and going over that with them throughout the season. That is the main reason that people are DQ'd. Kind of like swimming, there's a lot of intricacies to powerlifting. So at no point may the athlete's feet come in contact with the bench or the supports. Any heaving or bouncing of the bar from the chest will be a DQ. Remaining motionless on the chest. Any pronounced exaggeration, uneven extension without an accommodation noted in advance will be a DQ. Any downward movement of the bar in the course of being pressed out. A few additional ones here. Failure to press the bar to your full arm extension at the completion of the lift. Contact with the bar of the lifter by the spotter or loader between the chief referee signals. Deliberate contact between the bar and the bar rest uprights during the lift to make the lift easier. And then finally, failure to comply with any of the requirements contained in the general description of the lift. It seems like a lot of those come down to remain on the bench and listen to the officials' commands. This is, again, more of what we talked about before. The lifter will face the front of the platform. There's two different grips that the athletes can use for the deadlift. There's the double overhand and there's the mixed grip. Athletes are welcome to use either one of those, whichever allows them to produce the best. The shoulders do not have to be thrust back at an erect position. However, they are thrust back in that manner. That's acceptable. We do just need to make sure the athlete is standing tall. And at that point, the official will say drop, and that will be the end of it. Or down, I guess would be the command. All right. Deadlift continued here. The chief referee signal will be down. As we talked about, that will be the conclusion of the lift. The signal will not be given until the bar is held motionless. If the athlete does drop the bar before the official says down, they will be DQ'd. That's the hardest thing to see after you see an athlete have an amazing lift or almost lift and then go down. Please just have them keep their eyes or listen for their commands. Steve is phenomenal about yelling. He loves yelling. He may lose his voice by the end of the day, but he is very clear about what he needs to see for a lift. Deadlift DQs, any downward motion in the bar, or either end of the bar during the lift. Failure to stand erect with the shoulders in the position. Failures to lock the knees straight at the completion of the lift. Supporting the bar on the thighs to kind of help yourself get it up. Supporting the bar on the thighs may include also secondary bending of the knees and dropping of the hips, which then you kind of see the extra oomph after it's settled there for a minute. Lowering the bar before receiving the signal from the official, allowing the bar to return to the platform without maintaining control with both hands. So that cannot or needs to not be dropped until the down. Failure to comply with any of the requirements will result in a failed lift. For the combination, an athlete is required to compete in the bench press and the deadlift to receive a final score. That is what is combined for that. If an athlete is not able to complete at least one of those in each, they will not receive an award for the combination. Say if a bench press athlete completes 2 or 3 good lifts on the bench, but none in the deadlift, there is no award for that combination lift. They need to have one successful attempt in each of those lifts to qualify for an award within the combination. To take that a step farther, though, say you have 2 successful lifts with the bench, and I guess this isn't the combination, but what I'm getting at is your athletes will receive a participation award if they're unable to get any successful lifts within either the bench or the deadlift. That just excludes them from the combination. Does that make sense? All right, to kind of go around in circles. Thanks for sticking with me. All right, the general information here with results. They will be posted in the Knot Arena. They will be emailed the week after the event also. Is usually way before that, but if it is a week, that is what it could be. As we're trying to wrap up, thank everybody and get our equipment back here and return to our vendors. With the protests will be filed at the control center by the head coach within 30 minutes of the posted results. That is when that needs to be completed. You will find those forms right around where you will be like last year, kind of helping your athletes up on that stage. But you can find those papers. Please have them filled out. You will be given a copy. We keep a copy. If there is an appeal that is made, that will be followed up within 24, possibly 48 hours after the event. But that will be the final decision at that point. Only head coaches are able to file protests. Your athlete may mention something to you, but please be the one to be filling out that form, as it is only a head coach that will be able to receive approval or denial for a protest. Again, a protest is not bad. You're standing up for your athletes. It's not something that is I view as negative, or I will dislike you. I may actually respect you more for knowing the sport well and wanting to get things right, as do we. So that is why that is in place. Special needs, they have in the past been noted in GMS. I believe that you are locked out at this time from making edits to that. If you put that into an Excel sheet, Word, anything, or you just want to type it up over email about some of your athletes' special accommodations that we have noted that are able to be accommodated, please let me know in advance. And again, maybe having a piece of paper you could hand to us on site would be helpful also as a double check. Medical services. This is the thing in the survey. People say, I don't know where medical is. They will be on site and visible and roaming. So if there's a need for that, they will be easily found. With the evaluation survey, that is already ready to roll. We will wait, of course, to put that out till post the event. I don't care if you hated the event or if you loved the event. We need to hear your feedback. That is how we make our events better year after year. There's some people that write paragraphs, and that is fine. That is very helpful to us. I will say that every comment is read through, and we kind of take all of that into consideration for making the events the best we can for our athletes, or spectators, or anybody who is at the event. So please push that out also to your families, or anybody who is at the events that we may not have a direct contact with. The more, the merrier.
So Ryan, real quick on the special needs.
Yes.
The only special needs, I have a couple of autistic athletes that benefit from hand signals in addition to the verbal commands.
Okay.
Particularly on bench. We usually just work that out in the coaches meeting. Do you need anything in advance on that? Or
you spoke to Derek about that last year too, didn't you?
Yeah, and Derek was 100% on board with what needed to be done. So,
and I think Steve naturally does that anyway.
Yeah.
Up on there just as a double check. But yes, that will be fine, Jim.
Okay.
One thing also not clarified, but more specific with the medical services, obviously with powerlifting, along with other sports, there's a better, or not, there's a more chance of injury, of significant injury with powerlifting. But our medical people for powerlifting, it says roving, that's more so for like flag football and long distance running, as they will be roaming around in the fields, the different fields and all that. But for powerlifting, they will be right there in the first row of the bleachers or whatever, to be able to react immediately. So they'll be designated. They'll tell you where they're going to be sitting during the coaches meeting, but just wanted to make sure that everyone doesn't think, oh, the medical may be roving around and not sitting here right at the stage, but they'll be right at the stage in the warm-up area.
Thanks. And just as a heads up, I know that in the past we've not had safety issues, but there has been a few volunteers that we wish we would have had trained in advance. I have talked to Sam about meeting with 2 or 4 of those individuals that will be spotting the loaders. We kind of work with day of. The spotters, though, we have found that it will most likely be very beneficial to have a brief training with them in advance, even if they don't remember everything. It'll kind of put that in the back of their head that this role is important, and these next few hours are something I need to put all my attention to. So that we heard in the surveys, going back to that. So again, please make sure you fill that out. If you have questions for athletes in other sports, please make sure that you reach out to the appropriate sport director, myself for powerlifting and long distance running. Cycling, we're looking to fill a sport director position at this time, but Steve is overseeing cycling. If you have any questions about that. If you have questions about flag football and tennis, that will be Melissa Anger, who's working hard with a lot of qualifiers coming up, but she will get back to you as soon as she can there. Do we have any questions before our final slide?
Not seeing any hands raised and nothing in the chat, and I'm seeing a lot of heads saying no questions. So either we were very thorough or putting people to sleep.
All I can say is if Derek repeats the job he did last year, everybody would be real satisfied. It was a great competition last year. He did a fantastic job. One of our better competitions we've had in a long time. Just my input.
Very good.
And
Thank you. Thank you for that comment.
I will pass that along. He's been phenomenal. Couldn't ask for much more. Speaking of phenomenal and a big help, thank you to everybody on here, as you as a coach, for helping your athletes develop this year. Again, for that day, let's allow our athletes to compete to the highest of their ability, show off everything that they've learned from you and others this year, and let's have the best state competition for powerlifting that we can. If you have questions that come up before the event, please don't snag me that morning and ask that question if you are aware of it in advance, but I will be around to answer those for the most part. There will be a time after opening ceremonies begins that I will not be visible in a back room, kind of doing all the breakouts for divisions. Derek will be your go-to at that time. But if you have a question, come to either one of us, guess the first person you see, and we will provide you with an answer. So again, it's been a pleasure working with you. Look forward to a great day. Let's work as a team and do this for the athletes, which is what we always do. All you, Steve.
I have nothing else. Well said. And again, just echoing Ryan's comments from perspective of Special Olympics Maryland, from our leadership, President and CEO Jim Schmutz. We just obviously Special Olympics does not happen without coaches working with the athletes and preparing them for, like Ryan said, to showcase their skills and accomplishments at this event. So just want to acknowledge all of your dedication. I know many people wear many hats, whether it's also a family member within the Special Olympics family, if you will, within your own family, other coaching duties throughout the year. So again, we just want to acknowledge all of your dedication and hard work to make this event happen for the athletes.
All right. With that, you will be given back 9 minutes and 30 seconds of your night. Thank you again, everybody, and see you on October 22nd. Good night.